Hi and welcome to another episode of Top Bolts, and today we're going to be looking at the Scalextric Tyrrell. This is the C135, first released in 1979 on their 20th edition catalogue. This is a really nice old Formula 1 car, nicely put together as well. Not a particularly rare car, but still a very good one to own and actually to still use. This one runs the Johnson motor, which I do like. They're a very well put together motor. But overall, the car itself, this one's in pretty good condition. You often find they're missing the rear spoiler because these are literally, they pull out and they tend to get lost. And they're designed to pull out as well, so if the car comes off the track and stuff, and instead of this snapping the back off, they do tend to pull out. But this one's developed a little bit of a problem with the gears, so I can roll it back but not forward. So as you can see, it's very stiff and I don't want to force that. So like I said, it rolls in reverse but not forward. So we'll open this up and actually see what's going on inside there. I suspect either a split pinion or some broken teeth on the rear cog. But overall, the cog itself looks in pretty good condition. It looks like there's something going on there. As you can see, it looks like there might be a missing tooth. So we'll open this up and have a little look inside and see what's going on. So initially we'll just take the rear spoiler off so we don't cause any damage to that. The chassis is held in by 4 screws. And these are usually not that tight, so you often find with the Scalextric cars the screws should still be in reasonable condition, unless they've been well and truly over tightened, but usually the plastic thread will give out before the screw does. So just something to be mindful if you're looking at these old Scalextric cars and you find that the screws are all rounded off, there's a good chance that possibly the threads have gone as well under the screws, where they've been over tightened. Usually is at this point where I'll flip the car over and then take the body shell off. With these, it's the opposite way. So you leave it upside down and you release the chassis upwards and it comes away with the motor, and the front axle and the rear axle all sit in the body shell itself. So you can see it's got the plastic bearings either side, and then you've got the center rubber which locates the wheels in that position. So a very sturdy design, but also it's just to remember not to undo it the other way, because your wheels and everything, as I can demonstrate, that they literally just fall out. So if you do that, it'll fall everywhere. So if I just roll this back over and place those back in, so literally slot back into the body shell, and we'll put the front back in. So initially looking at this, actually let's take that out and get a closer look. So if I can get it in the light so you guys can see. I'm running around looking at the teeth. Right, okay, there's some damage occurring there. As you can see there's a missing tooth there. So we'll replace this then. And put that to one side and let's have a look at the motor. So initially the motor feels a little bit stiff, so a bit of oil is needed. The pinion, that looks to be in good condition, but we'll replace the pinion and the rear cog as we've got it all open, and we'll put a bit of oil in this motor as well. The pickups itself and the guide, they look in good condition. They don't need to be replaced at all, and the soldered joints are all in good condition. So what we'll do is we'll release the motor from this. So I tend to pinch the motor either side, give a bit of support from the underside and there, and just give that a little squeeze, and then that motor will just pop out, and you should be able to just then release the front. What I do for this, because usually these are that's quite on there, so we'll just use this tool. So this is a pinion tool. It's quite a good bit of kit, very simple, very inexpensive, but it does make life a bit easier. You have a slot in the tool there, so you just place your motor into that slot and then just wind that on, and then you get the motor is now being held, and then just hold on to the motor and just wind. Let's get it onto the right point, and then you just wind that in, and as you can see, it starts to push that pinion straight off. Perfect. So we'll put that to one side, take that whole pinion away, and we'll take our new pinion, and what we'll do, we'll use the same tool for putting the pinion back on. It's just this time the motor sits inside the tool, so I'll just wind this open. We place the motor in, being careful not to snip the wires. Actually, what I do find easier is just initially, it's just to get a bite onto the motor with the pinion, and then you can use this tool to set the depth of the pinion. So I just wind that on, and what there's a hole just there for the center spine of the motor to push its way through. So now we'll just wind that on, making sure to line that pinion with the hole, and we just wind that in, and all we want to do is just set the depth of the pinion. So using that, we can just wind that on ever so slightly. You can set this so it sits quite close. That looks about right. Let me just release that back out. So that's sat on there lovely. You can see we've raised the center spine just through that pinion. So we'll place this back into the chassis. Once again, just being careful not to pinch the cables. And offer a bit of support in the back, and then press. And that should sit in there quite snug. Just making sure you don't pinch the wires and just bring those through. That's it. Okay, that's perfect. And on the chassis of the car, you have these two slots. So you can press the wires back into those slots, and they will actually retain those wires in the correct position, and then stop those wandering out from the car. So now that's all back as one unit. So we're off for a little bit of oil just down the front of that motor. So literally just around the rear pinion. We just turn that in. And then once again, just at the base. And they're very small amounts of oil. And that already feels a lot freer. Okay, so we'll put that to one side. Now I've got a replacement rear cog. So these are often wider than a standard car because it's a Formula 1. So what we'll do, we'll release the wheels, take the bearings off, and we just make sure they're sitting right, they're sitting perfect. Okay, so we'll put that to one side. We'll do a final check on our replacement, which all looks to be good. So bearings back on, wheels back on. Just give those a gentle squeeze. And we'll place that back into the body. Okay. And then we'll put the chassis back on. And that should fit quite snug. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, brilliant. Yep, that's great. So we'll pop these screws back in. And once again, you don't need to wind these screws down very hard because it's a metal screw into a plastic thread. So you want to give that, just feel the pinch and then a tiny bit more. So not much at all really. And that's perfect. So that's all back together. That's working lovely. Okay, brilliant. So we'll test this out and just make sure the motor is operating as it should. We'll put the fairing back on, the spoiler, sorry. And we'll run this up, just make sure this motor is operating as it should and we're happy. Okay, so we'll run this motor up, just let those pinion and rear cog bed themselves in together. We'll start the volts low and then work our way up. So I'll just switch this on. So I'm just going to lift the rear wheel slightly and then increase the volts. Just straight away, that's come on lovely. Now I'll slowly increase. Right, it spun so fast that it blew the tyres off. Right, that's working perfectly. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you've enjoyed the content and found some of the tips of use. As always, if you have any helpful tips or advice on these cars that you would like to share with myself and others, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'll try my very best to get back to you. But thank you for watching my video and I'll see you at the next one.